What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the FutureDDS Podcast with Nick, Terrell, and Tyler. Today, we're going to talk about paying back loans, and who better than two guys who went to Tufts, which is one of the most expensive schools in the nation. So, how are you guys doing today?
Man.
Hey, man, that felt like a shot. I don't know why, but
I know it's totally fine, man, because I'm about to go to one of the most expensive schools too, and I definitely want to know how to pay back those freaking loans. So, yeah. So, how did you guys go about it?
So,
Man, so going about it. Let's put that out there. You know, it's definitely a constant journey to paying back loans. Like I think that's one thing that a lot of people overlook, and I'll just say that right now. Like a lot of people overlook exactly how expensive dental school is, whether you go to Tufts, which is really expensive, or you go to an in-state school, which may give you a slight discount. But still, it's just I think a lot of people are so excited about the process of getting in and the DAT and doing well in grades that they don't even think about how much something costs until they're finally even starting to interview and then starting to make that decision on which school to go to, So I think it's something that to definitely start thinking about sooner than later, because honestly, I didn't start thinking about it until then as well. I knew it was going to be something. I knew it was going to be a lot, but I think it's just something that goes unthought about or over people's heads a lot of times, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that you need to decide on, and granted, we're always learning who we are. We go through things, whereas like I'm still learning who I am, and I'm almost 30, right? So I think that to the best of your ability, you need to know what type of person that you are or how risk adverse you are, right? So for example, if I am somebody who I know I want to, okay, Terrell and I, for example, I think we are both entrepreneurs. Yes, that investment, I think for both of us is definitely intimidating, but in the depths of both of our hearts, I think we both know that we will pay it back, and we won't need to do weird, shady dentistry to get the money back to pay it back, right? I think that through our other ventures, we'll be able to somehow, through the grace of God, find a way to make these payments and make everything work. If you are somebody who, you're saying, you know what, I have a family, I have this, I have that, I want to be as safe as possible, then maybe it doesn't make sense for you to go to the most expensive school. If you don't go in the first year, you might want to take another year off or whatever you might need to do in order to go into your state school and pay 1/4 of the price. I think it just really does matter who you are as a person, and really just know yourself, man. If you know you hate having that balance on the back or in the back of your head, then don't do it. But if you are somebody who says, you know what, I want to be the greatest dentist alive, and I know that I will net X amount of dollars, and with that type of money, I'll easily be able to pay off these loans, and I feel comfortable taking out a $700,000 loan. Granted, I don't want to.
It sounds crazy. It sounds crazy.
I don't want to just tell people to just do it. I definitely don't want to tell people just to do it, but I think that you really, really need to think about who you are as a person, and if you are really, really ready to take that risk, and take that debt on, because it can be crippling if you don't handle it the right way.
Right, and I think another aspect of that, on top of that, like Tyler said, set goals for yourself. So if your goal is to, I want to just go to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, go home, don't necessarily want to do extra things, you're okay with making a certain amount annually, or collections, different things like that, then, you have to go into it with a game plan. I think that's the biggest thing. Like you have to set your goals, and you have to set a game plan, and then create goals to make sure that game plan happens, right? So you set your goals. Okay, I want to do this. I want to live this type of lifestyle. I want to experience these things. I want to be this type of dentist, like you said. So then you set up the goals to make sure that happens. So for us, and I know I can speak specifically for myself, and knowing Tyler's mindset a little bit, being in a place where you're around like-minded people, other people who are entrepreneurial based, other people in a bigger city Like those are things that you value, you know what I mean? So you have to come up with your value list of things that will, one, make sure you're successful while you're in school, because that's first before you even think about paying back loans. Like you got to get through school, you got to succeed, and you got to be able be willing and like in the right mindset to learn and really start thriving and start learning the dentistry you want to do. Because once you get out, like it's not much learning, more so is like becoming more efficient and like putting things into action. All right, so like learn, take that opportunity of being in dental school to do that, right? And think about yourself, right? You want to be oral surgeon, right? So you gotta think 4 years at Columbia, then probably another 5 to 7, depending on where you end up matching to, for oral surgery. You gotta think about how much that's gonna be. All right. And at the end of the day, you gotta look at that number, like Tyler said, be comfortable with that number, but also understand they don't expect you to pay that number back the day you graduate. Like when you graduate, that number is not, there's a tab there for sure, but you gotta understand the investment that you're willing to make in yourself. So you're making the investment of going into school for 10 to 12 years to be able to make more money. You know what I mean? Once you get out of school, like that's not the end of how much you're gonna be paying, especially if you want to progress as being a dentist. Like Tyler just said, he had to pay for the CE course on the last episode. I just pay for another CE course. So it's like you're going to continue to invest in yourself because you have to continue to learn in order to be able to do things that will allow you to be able to address, I guess, the elephant in the room of a big number in terms of dentistry. And if not, if you don't want to do that, cool. But understand that it may be like a mortgage. You may be paying it back for the next 30 years. Like, and you don't see that until third, fourth year dental school where they're like, okay, 7-year repayment plan, 15-year repayment plan, 20-year, 30 years. You're like 30 years. And then you look at how much it's going to be per month for 30 years. And you're like, I see why it's about to be 30 years, like, so there's a lot of different things that people don't necessarily think about going in that I wouldn't necessarily allow. Like, I wouldn't say you should look at it too much because at some point it could deter you from following the path or creating a plan of action for the moment, more so than thinking about a pitfall of the future potentially. And yeah, so I think those are a lot of aspects to think about, and then also like understand that it's not a overnight thing. You making more money when you first come out of school isn't a thing, and then you also having to repay it back right off the bat isn't a thing. So just create a plan, stick to it, and trust in yourself just the way you trust yourself to get into school, get through school, or get to a certain amount of income per year. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. So I think those are all good general, like a good general philosophy, but more so like how are you guys going about it personally then? Did you guys choose like the longer route, so like a 30-year repayment plan or a 15-year repayment plan? What are you guys doing and why?
So honestly, I mean, to be real with you, bro, with these extensions, I have not given much thought to it at all. All I know is that it is going to be paused. And I'm cool.
That's it right now. Yeah.
What I'm personally doing, I'm heavily taking all the money that I make. And at one point before I moved into my apartment, I was investing like literally 85% of my income into the stock market, especially because it's lower right now. It's like definitely down. And I'm like, you know what? After looking at all these interest calculators and things like that, with compounding interest, realistically with the amount that I have been putting in, technically in like 20 years, it could be worth 5 or 6 million, right? And that's all theory, right? All hypothetical. But with that being said, that has made me a little bit more comfortable just in saying, like, you know what? I am investing. I'm not just blowing my money on dumb stuff. I know that I do have this, and I do know in the grand scheme of everything, dentistry is such a great profession that yes, it will suck if, it's going to suck when I have to pay these loans back, but in the grand scheme, as long as I'm not living above my means, it'll be able to get paid. So I'm not worried too much about it. But like I said, when it does come back on, I believe I'll be doing the income-based repayment. And I think, and do not quote me on this, please do not quote me on this, but somebody told me that like it used to be like 10%, but now they're shortening it to 5%. That might have just been a rumor that I heard. But if it is that, then I think that'll definitely be a manageable amount. Because at the end of the day, like a lot of people also talk about like why do we have to pay student loans back? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, man, in the grand scheme, I am very, very thankful, for my education. So if this is the tax that it costs to be a dentist, then you know what, it was worth it. And granted, I am saying this without paying a dime yet, but hey.
I have some follow-up questions regarding that. So you said it's on a pause.
Yes.
Like, does that mean, is there still interest accruing?
No.
Not
How
right
did
now.
how did you get it on a pause even to begin with?
Oh, that's
The
everybody.
pandemic. Yeah.
The
All
pandemic,
student
yeah.
loans.
And they just
Yeah.
keep extending it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so that's kind of like an exception for the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. For right now. Yeah. That's an
Okay.
exception.
Okay, and then like to kind of re-summarize like what you said. So basically you are taking that money that you would you'd probably be spending on paying back loans into investing so that you can actually make more money there, and so pay back your loans and have money left over, even though the loans become more expensive
Well,
technically.
no. So granted, and of course, I am not in any way a financial advisor.
Do not listen to this as
do not listen to me,
advice.
okay? This is just what I've done in my wonky whatever. So if you look, I'll pull it up right now. We'll do a compound interest calculator. Okay. So let's say if I start with an initial investment of like, let's say I just do $50,000, right? Whatever. I've been working throughout college. I have $50,000 saved. And you know what? Let's not do that. Let me do $0. So let me start off with $0. If I put, let's say, $5,000 a month into an index fund, right? And let's say I let that sit there for 20 years. Now, estimated interest rate, I see ranges
8%.
from like 7 to 10.
Yeah.
But let's say
conservative.
9, just because we're going to adjust to inflation, right? So we'll say 9%. Now, if it's compounding, I'm going to just say annually. Then in 20 years, if I'm investing $5,000 a month, in 20 years, I will have $3,069,607. Okay. So I would have gotten that $3 million from investing only 1.2 million over those 20 years, right? So in my mind, and call me crazy, if it gets to that, and then of course taxes, and I don't know much about this, so once again, but let's say taxes takes away
50%. Let's just say 50%.
Even
realistically,
I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking like long term.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like retirement.
But granted, I don't know. But I'm thinking it might be like, I don't know. But even if it is, you know what? Let's say that. Even if it is 50%, right? I don't think it is. But even if it was 50%,
I don't think so. I was trying to overshoot. Just for sake of argument. For sake of argument.
Even then, I'll have enough money to pay back my loans. And I don't know, man. I just keep hearing all this stuff about pay yourself first, make sure you're investing, especially when the market is down. What do they say, Terrell? When they're like, when people are scared, that's when you should be like aggressive. And then when people are being aggressive, that's when you should be scared. So this is one of those times when we know the recession is coming. We know it's on the way. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm seeing red on all of these charts. This is the time I should be putting my money in. And hopefully in 20 years, I will see that wealth build, and then my family and I will be straight and we'll have money to live, give back, do everything. Now, and yeah, that's just kind of how I'm going about it. So yeah, I don't know how Terrell's moving, but that's just what I'm doing. Yeah.
I mean, definitely something similar. So one of my goals, especially first year out of school, was to get a financial advisor. I know historically I have not been the best with managing money. So at least getting a scaffold or game plan in place. And I can obviously you can choose what you want to do with it, but at least having a game plan to reach X amount or a set endpoint. So getting a financial advisor, I would suggest everyone do that, just to even have conversations. You may not want to listen to every suggestion that they give you, but at least you'll have ideas and have a professional telling you, okay, this is advantageous for you to do this over this long amount of time. Like Tyler said, index funds, mutual, like these type of indexes, and I guess just putting it into the stock market, you'll gain a certain amount of money. So no matter, depending on what it is, how much you're putting in, you're going to be able to do that. On top of that, other investments in terms of betting on yourself, like you taking out a $200,000-$300,000 loan at dental school is betting on yourself already. So why wouldn't you continue to bet on yourself in terms of getting your own practice or starting up another business or investing in some other avenue that will make you money? So I'm, just getting to the point where you have systems in place that'll allow you to pay back certain things without necessarily, or while still being able to build retirement and gain like net worth essentially. Investment accounts, retirement accounts, just all of those different avenues, and really just being smarter with your money, not living outside your means. So I think that's the biggest thing. From my end, like I said, got a financial advisor and have been doing a lot, been a lot more aggressive with putting money into those stock markets and, setting up like IRAs, different things like that end up being tax free at the end of the day. Cause like I'll say, if you have $1 million or that $3 million, even if you take out a loan that ends up accruing interest and goes to $1 million, you're still going to be up $2 million technically, before taxes. So like it makes almost too much sense to do it that way than it is to be aggressive about paying it back, because at the end of the day, you'll be starting to build your retirement fund at that point instead of beforehand, which, I guess if you work the numbers, it may work out. But again, looking at all these compound interest, hearing a lot of people talk about compound interest, talking about it takes time to build the money, and trying to play the stock market game will lose you money, but putting it and sitting it and letting it just ride the waves of the stock market, not necessarily looking at it day in, day out, every quarter or whatever, and trying to time it right. Until you really need it, or you really like are going to utilize that money. Like that's the key to doing it. Like time in the market versus timing the market is what I've heard people calling it. So just put it in there, and you got to, like I said, there's always a risk of doing that. Just like it's a risk of paying it back, and God forbid something happens if you're aggressive with paying it back and you actually need that money liquid. So it's like you got to weigh the odds of both ends. I think like Tyler said, just being smart about long-term repayment and making a plan that makes sense for you. If you have a spouse that can help you pay rent and do all these other things, maybe you could be a little bit more aggressive about paying it back while still putting money away into the stocks or different things like that. If you're single, maybe be a little bit smarter. Definitely pay yourself first. Definitely do all of that investing and loan repayment stuff before you decide to have fun with your money. Because that would probably be the worst mistake you could make, is really spending the money, blowing the bread, and not having anything to show for it. Not even a system in place. You know what I mean? You gotta at least have a system in place, and doing something to make your money make money for you. So I think that's the biggest thing.
I want to just give them an example, too. I was just doing this math, right?
Oh yeah, okay. Go ahead.
So say you're a dentist and you make $250,000 a year, okay?
Right.
And I would say realistically, that's kind of average, right? From what I've heard from dentists that I know. Okay, so if I am taxed, if I'm taxed 38%, I would take home $155,000 a year. That $155,000 a month equates to around 13. So $13,000 a month, okay? So even with that $13,000 a month, if I take $5,000 and invest it, I still have $8,000, right?
96 for the year.
Boom. I still have 8,000. Now, watch this. Imagine if my student loan payment is $2,500. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. But I still have $5,500 a month. Now I completely understand, like, oh, I have to pay rent, completely understand that. But then that's when it kind of gets to that point where you start looking at your lifestyle, right? It's a lot different me paying $2,000 a month versus me paying $4,000 a month in rent, right? There's a big difference in that. So that's why it's something that, our group of friends, we always talk about this lifestyle creep type of thing. One of the reasons why I'm not ashamed, I think most of us stayed home for that first year and a half. Like I literally just moved out, and I've been practicing for a year and a half, So yeah, with all that being said, like I think that just being really smart with your money and not overcommitting yourself to certain things, like, you know, buying the super nice car or buying the super nice crib. Like, granted, there's a time and a place for that. And of course, I'm not going to tell you where to spend your money, but just kind of think of it like that. If you're making 250,000, this is what I can do. But if I'm making 500,000,
it looks a little different. Looks a little different. You know?
So just keep that type of stuff in mind, y'all. But don't think that, you know, I think that, you know, Instagram and social media definitely makes it seem like you need a certain type of lifestyle. But like literally, if you're struggling to live off of $5,500 a month, I think that you have to really take a step back and just kind of look at where you're putting your money in and what you have going on. And keep in mind, I'm not talking about people who have to support, you know, their family. Like I'm not talking about that person. So do not, you know, don't twist my words. But I'm saying, hey, if you're by yourself and you have $5,500
to play with,
not to play, but just to live,
to do anything you with, everything with,
I know a lot of people living off of a lot less.
Yeah.
And you're still investing in yourself. So, you know, just think about it.
Yeah, that's a lot of wisdom.
Good gems.
Definitely. I mean, I don't really think about that stuff like right now, but I know that it's definitely good to have this perspective, especially because like, yeah, it is a daunting number, you know, like seeing that price tag for after school. It's like, gee, you want to buy a practice, you want to buy a house, you want to buy a car, you want to start a family, all that stuff. Then you're like, I'm really gonna have to work hard. But yeah, anyway, you guys, thank you so much for your perspectives today. You guys have anything else to share?
Man, just final word, man. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, the final words. Oh, you go ahead.
I was about to say, I mean, just really like, again, I can't stress it enough. Just like invest in yourself, think of yourself as a business. If you were going to go out and start a business, you have to get a loan for something. The advantage to this is you at least have stable income, you have a great career, and you have the ability to go out there and take more risks, especially if that's the type of person that you are. If you're already betting on yourself, continue to bet on yourself, and you're going to end up on top at the end of the day, because clearly you're willing to do the work and lock in and take care of what needs to be taken care of. So yeah, don't let it scare you, don't let it deter you, but also just be cognizant and mindful of it.
Yeah. All right.
And one more final word for me. Do not get into the dentistry for money. If you're somebody who doesn't like people and you don't like you hate teeth, but you think you're going to live this lifestyle as a dentist, look, it is not what you think it is.
Yep.
I'm being so serious. And that's not to deter you, because I love my job, but I love my job because I love my job. I don't love the money. The money's great. But what I'm saying is that should not be your main determining factor, because if money was the main determining factor of me going into dentistry, I would be very disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Especially as a new doc. Yeah. So that's it, man.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, yep. That's another episode of the FutureDDS Podcast with Nick, Tyler, and Terrell. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you guys learned a lot of at least perspective on how we plan on attacking these things, or at least things you should start thinking about if you're interested in dental school, if you're about to graduate dental school, or if you're a recent grad, trying to just gain some perspective or some vision on attacking these loans. Stay tuned. We'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, you know, if you have any questions for us, put it down in the comments. If you have any topics that you would like to hear our perspective on, add it down to the comments. Head over to Instagram, follow us at _FutureDDS. And that's going to be it for this week's episode. All right, y'all. Y'all be easy, man.
All right, y'all.
Take care.